Paul Thomas Anderson's Boogie Nights has everything you can want in a movie. It's hilariously funny, incredibly dramatic, disturbing, heartwarming, with incredible performances and brilliant filmmaking. It's an epic period piece using both the 70s and the 80s. It's about dysfunctional people finding family in the weirdest places. It's about how the free love and experimentation of the 70s led to the gaudy, oppressive 80s. It's about filmmaking and art. It's about a lot. How would a writer go about trying to create something as epic as Boogie Nights? The first step for me is always to structure the story, and this is where we can find guidance from Boogie Nights. An epic is just too big and unwieldy for a simple 3-act structure. Writers looking to create something more complex need a different set of tools. Boogie Nights fits more in the model of a 5-act structure. You know, the one that Shakespeare used, or the one detailed in the book Into the Woods by John Yorke. In this video, we'll analyze how Boogie Nights uses a 5-act structure to create its epic scope and create something unique, and we'll use it as an example of how you might use this complex story structure for your project. In his book Into the Woods, John Yorke gives a map for using 5-act structure. 5-act structure is not necessarily separate from 3-act structure, as Yorke points out in his book. You can fit most 5-act structure stories within a 3-act structure. The truth is, 3-act structure is a misnomer, as a 3-act film may have as many as 7 acts. And always, I'm not kidding you, has at least 4 acts. Why is it called 3-act structure? Well, I think it's as simple as this. It basically means each story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the acts end in a major plot point. But 5-act structure is simply a new way of seeing and organizing your script. It breaks up Act 2 into 3 acts. Why the 5-act structure is helpful for writers is it creates more movements of story within the middle, which is often the hardest part to write. You know, the middle Act 2 is where writers go to die. Anything can happen, but 5-act structure helps bring shape to that middle. John Yorke breaks down the 5 acts as follows. In Act 1, our hero has no knowledge of the problem. In Act 2, they experiment with the new world. In Act 3, they experience a meeting with the truth they are not ready for. In Act 4, they begin to understand the rules of the new world. And in Act 5, they incorporate the new world and become its master. Each act has the essential elements of drama: the protagonist, antagonist, inciting incident, a journey/desire, a crisis, a climax, and a resolution. Let's break down how each act of Boogie Nights uses this model to create an epic story design. Act 1. In Act 1, we meet Eddie Adams, soon to be known as Dirk Diggler. Eddie lives at home with his abusive alcoholic mom and spends his nights working in a nightclub far from home so he can be near the movie stars. Let's see how the essential elements fit in. Well, the protagonist is Eddie. And in this act, the antagonist is Eddie's mother, who wants to keep him away from the glittery world he is invited into. Eddie's journey or desire is to become a big, bright, shining star. This is also what they call in musicals the I Want song. Eddie states his desire right off the bat. One of the most powerful things about Boogie Nights is its vast cast of characters. Each character is given a desire, an I Want song. Julianne Moore's Amber Waves wants to be a mother. Don Cheadle's Buck Swope wants a new identity. William H. Macy's Little Bill wants to stop being humiliated by his wife. And Jack Horner wants to make a great film, one that rises beyond just pornography or entertainment and tells a great story. By giving each character a strong want, P.T. Anderson gives us an effective way of connecting to each character when they all have to compete for screen time. And this is what the I Want song does. The inciting incident is where Eddie meets Jack Horner, who invites him to make movies. The crisis introduces the central question of the first act. Will Eddie join the film production? And the answer is, of course, yes. The climax is when Eddie comes home late from a night out with Jack, and his mother tears down his room and kicks him out of the house. Eddie has nowhere else to go. He goes to Jack Horner's mansion. This, the resolution, is also called the lock-in. The moment in which the protagonist is forced onto the journey. This is what we would call in a 3-act structure, plot point 1. There is no going back now. We have officially entered Act 2. In Act 2, the hero has entered into the new world. This is also the fun and games segment of the story, where we see the promise fulfilled by the movie trailer. This is our hero's first experimentation with the new world, which for Dirk is the found family of his fellow porn producers. Each act must again have the 7 elements: a protagonist, an antagonist, inciting incident, journey, desire, crisis, climax, and resolution. The protagonist again is Eddie Adams. The antagonist this time has no human form, but is instead the anxiety of performing for the camera. The journey, Dirk needs to prove himself. The crisis comes when Dirk has to perform for the camera and he goes above and beyond everyone's expectations. The resolution shows a montage of success as Dirk rises to become a superstar. Here, P.T. Anderson focuses not on conflict, but on the joy of the success. The overindulgence of this allows the audience to share Dirk's feeling of success, or success. Boogie Nights is a rise and fall narrative, one of the many patterns of story. There's all kinds of stories. Some say there are 3, some say 9, but there are many different common arcs in story. In a rise and fall narrative, like Wolf of Wall Street, Goodfellas, or Scarface, the hero spends the first half on the rise and the latter half on the fall. In Act 3, in a 5-act story, the hero will meet with the truth they are blind to. This is also known as the midpoint of the film. John Yorke identifies the midpoint as the most crucial moment of the story. This is where the name of the book, Into the Woods, comes from. The hero undertakes a journey of truth-seeking into the woods where they meet themselves. Then they carry that truth out back with them, not ready to face it. Into the woods and back. The midpoint culminates at a New Year's Eve party where the film divides its rise section, taking place in the 70s, and enters the fall, taking place in the newly born 80s. When William H. Macy's Little Bill kills himself, the fall begins. At this point in the movie, the innocent joys of success are destroyed by tragedy. This is amplified when the mother figure, Amber Waves, introduces cocaine into everybody's life. The protagonist is once again Eddie, now named Dirk Diggler. The antagonist this time is Jack Horner, who is struggling with a new world of video making. As the cocaine takes its toll, Dirk's ego goes out of control and he finds himself in conflict with his father figure. The inciting incident, the death of Bill and the introduction of cocaine, as well as the transfer from film to video, creates a rift between the father and the son. Dirk's journey begins when Johnny Wad joins the crew and Dirk believes he is being replaced. Dirk and Jack Horner come to blows, Dirk insisting he call the shots. And in the resolution, Jack kicks Dirk out, breaking up their makeshift family. Act 4. In Act 4, we see the family divided as Dirk and his family spiral downward. The protagonist this time, and I think one of the things that makes a 5-act structure more capable of doing something complex and epic, is the fact that the elements of story may change between the acts. For instance, in our Act 4 now, the protagonists are Dirk, Jack Horner, and Don Cheadle's Buck Swope. The antagonist for Dirk is a world without money or fame. The antagonist for Jack is the switch of the industry over to video, personified by Floyd Gondoli. Buck Swope struggles against a world that rejects him for being a pornographer. The inciting incident happens when Dirk's plans of becoming a rock star fall apart. He'll do anything he can for money, while Jack Horner tries to make video history by having Roller Girl have sex with an amateur, and Buck Swope is denied a loan. The journey is survival in the new world without their family intact. The crisis comes when Dirk performs a sex act for money. He's reached his most desperate point. Jack and Roller Girl find their suitor, and he turns out to be a kid Roller Girl went to high school with. In the climax, Dirk is assaulted, Roller Girl and Jack's plan falls apart, and Buck is held up at gunpoint. The resolution, Dirk is left bleeding in a parking lot. Roller Girl and Jack beat the kid to a pulp, and Buck Swope survives the stick-up and runs away with the money he needed to start his business. This ends Act 4, and is also known in 3-act structure as the all is lost moment. What this movie does that is more powerful than most is it gives us an operatic montage intercutting 3 all is lost moments in one. It's a montage of hell. Act 5. Act 5, which in a 3-act structure is Act 3, in both structures, this is our resolution. Our hero, having met the truth at the midpoint and carried it out with them out of the woods, must finally grasp the truth or be doomed and become a tragic hero. They will be given one more chance to make a change, and if they change, they will be rescued from tragedy, and if not, they will further descend into hell. Again, the elements of story are in place. The protagonist is once again Dirk. The antagonist, a crazed millionaire drug addict and Russian roulette player. The inciting incident, Dirk's friend has a plan. They will fill a bag with powder and tell him it's coke. Sell it to him and collect their money and get the hell out of there. The journey is to survive the encounter. The crisis comes when they enter and realize that Rashid is out of his fucking mind and plays with guns. At the center of the scene, Dirk has a revelation. The sequence is done wordlessly. We watch Dirk change. We watch him replay every mistake he made in the finest bit of acting Wahlberg has ever done and probably ever will do. The climax, we realize that Dirk's friend is not there to sell the drugs, but to rob. It ends in chaos. Dirk barely escapes with his life. The resolution, Dirk returns home and asks his adopted father for help. The family is reunited. Boogie Nights tells the epic tale of Dirk Diggler, detailing his rise and fall and rise back again. What I love about Boogie Nights is how it feels alive, how these characters seem to exist somewhere, someplace. We spend so much time with them, and then we see how much they love each other. They feel real in a way that most movies do not achieve. Sometimes it's the extra moments, the little bits that don't fit into the story, that don't serve huge amounts of purpose, that help to create this feeling of a real place, a real world. The 5-act structure allows for P.T. Anderson to create a more complex and epic narrative. You can learn more about 5-act structure from John Yorke's Into the Woods, link in the description. And for alternate takes on story structure, check out this video on breaking down 3-act structure.